Welcome to Class with Skeul, where Black American history, news, and real issues are taught with clarity, structure, and purpose. This is not surface-level content. This is a timeline, a record, a correction. Every episode is built to teach what was done, what was fought for, and what was taken. From revolts to wars, from policy to resistance, we break it down so it can be understood, remembered, and never rewritten. Because history that isn't taught clearly can be distorted, and history that is distorted can be used against the people it belongs to. Here, we focus on accuracy, on connection, on truth. Not just to inform, but to preserve. Not just to explain, but to expose. Because this isn't just about the past. It's about understanding the present and recognizing what continues. Each video is part of a larger structure, so nothing is isolated and nothing is forgotten. Stay focused, stay aware, stay connected. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and shew my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins. Isaiah 58:1. Episode 7. The Road to War, 1830 to 1860. Part 1. Expansion and Resistance. After the Second Seminole War, the United States did not slow down. It expanded. New territories were opened, new states were forming, and with each step forward, the same question followed. Would slavery expand with the nation? This was not just political, it was economic. And for Black Americans, it was immediate, because expansion meant the system could spread further or be challenged. Across the South, slavery became more structured and more aggressive. Plantation economies grew, especially with cotton production rising. Laws tightened, surveillance increased, control became more organized. But resistance did not disappear. It adapted. Escapes continued, but now they were part of something larger. What became known as the Underground Railroad developed into a network, routes, safe houses, and individuals working together to move people out of slavery and toward freedom. It was not random, it was coordinated. At the center of that effort were people willing to take risks. One of the most effective was Harriet Tubman. After escaping slavery, she returned multiple times to guide others out. She moved with discipline, planning each trip carefully. She understood the terrain, the risks, and the consequences. Her work was strategic. Each successful escape weakened the system. Each movement proved that control was not absolute. At the same time, resistance took other forms. Some resisted through escape. Others resisted through quiet disruption, slowing work, breaking tools, sharing information, and helping others move. These actions were rarely recorded, but they were constant. By the 1850s, the system responded. In 1850, the United States passed the Fugitive Slave Act. This law extended the reach of slavery beyond the South. It required that escaped Black people be returned even if they had reached free states. It also placed pressure on citizens to assist in their capture. This changed everything. The North was no longer separate. The line between free and enslaved became unstable. But instead of stopping resistance, it expanded it. More people became involved, more networks formed, more risks were taken, because the system was growing, and it was not going to stop on its own. If you've made it this far, you're not just watching, you're following Black American warrior history in its full timeline. On Class with Skeul, every episode connects, showing resistance, strategy, and power across generations. If you're tapped in, support the channel. Hit like so more people see this. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Turn on the notification bell so you're there when it drops. And share this with someone who needs the full story. not just pieces. This isn't random content. It's a structured history. Stay locked in. The next episode goes deeper. Part 2. Conflict becomes inevitable. As the 1850s progressed, the tension around slavery moved closer to open conflict. The question of expansion turned into direct confrontation. In territories like Kansas, violence broke out between pro-slavery and anti-slavery forces. This period became known as Bleeding Kansas. It wasn't debate, it was violence. Settlements were attacked, people were killed, control of territory was contested through force. The country was no longer divided in theory, it was divided in action. At the same time, more direct challenges to slavery began to emerge. In 1859, John Brown led a raid on the federal arsenal at Harper's Ferry. His goal was to start a larger uprising by arming enslaved people and creating a sustained resistance movement. The plan did not succeed. Brown was captured and executed, but the impact was immediate. To some, he was a warning. To others, he was an example, because his action showed that the conflict had moved beyond politics. People were now willing to use force to challenge the system directly. Across the country, positions hardened. Southern states saw these events as threats to their way of life and their economic system. Northern opposition to slavery continued to grow, both politically and through direct action. The divide became sharper, compromise became weaker, and the possibility of avoiding conflict began to disappear. By 1860, the situation had reached a breaking point. The election of Abraham Lincoln signaled a shift in national leadership, one that many Southern states refused to accept. One by one, they began to secede. The system that had been building tension for decades was now collapsing into open conflict. What had started as resistance had grown into a national crisis, and soon it would become war. The Civil War was no longer a possibility. It was inevitable. And when it began, Black Americans would not stand on the sidelines. They would enter the fight and help reshape the future of the country. If you made it to the end, stay tapped in. Like this video so it reaches more people. Subscribe to Class with Skeul for the full timeline. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. Drop a comment. What stood out, what should be added, and what you want covered next.